Hello there, I welcome you to HisGov TV. My name is Collins Nanaya Abebese. In this video, we are going to discuss the 1969 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. And this constitution is quite unique among all the constitutions that we have discussed on this platform. And by the way, if you care to know, I have videos on the various constitutions on the various constitutional development in the Gold Coast to, of course, Ghana, from the colonial rule to even after the country gained independence. So you can check those videos in the for playlist, SHS3 playlist, or the government playlist on our platform, and you'll get access to all those videos. Okay, but before we even begin with our discussion, I would also like to remind you to subscribe to our channel if you have not done so, and if you have already subscribed to, we thank you very much for your support. Okay, so let's begin our lesson with our lesson objectives. Okay, good. So at the end of this lesson, we should be able to discuss the features of the 1969 Second Republican Constitution of Ghana, and that would be our first objectives. And then our second one will be, we should be able to outline the status and qualifications of the president in the 1969 Second Republican Constitution of Ghana. What does it take to become a president, or to qualify to stand for the presidency as stated in the 1969 Constitution? So these two objectives are going to guide us in our discussions of our topic today. So let's jump into our discussions without wasting time. Now let's take a look at the introduction, a brief background to the introduction of the 1969 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. Now, in 1966, the National Liberation Council, led by Ankara, overthrew the CPP government, and that's Nkrumah's government. And as a result of that, the constitution that was in place, that is the 1960 Constitution, was suspended by the National Liberation Council. That's the military junta that overthrew the CPP government. They suspended that 1960 Constitution that was in place at that time. And anytime a constitution is suspended through a military coup, which, of course, through a military coup, that means that that particular republic has been overthrown. And therefore, with the suspension of the 1960 Constitution by the National Liberation Council, okay, meant that the first republic of Ghana had been overthrown, and that was the CPP government, the Nkrumah government. And therefore, anytime the country decides to return, of course, the country, or anytime the military decides to return the country to a civilian rule, then it ushers in another, of course, republic. And that is how come the 1969 becomes, of course, the 1969 Constitution becomes the first constitution in the Second Republic of Ghana, which then means that after the First Republic was overthrown, the Second Republic was ushered in with the 1969 Constitution. So when the National Liberation Council was, of course, ready to return the country to a civilian rule, I think 2 years or 3 years after the overthrow of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, a constitutional commission was established by the NLC under the chairmanship of Chief Justice Akufo-Addo. And Chief Justice Akufo-Addo is the father of the current president of the Republic of Ghana. So under his chairmanship, a constitutional commission under his chairmanship was inaugurated to draft a second to draft a first constitution for the ushering in of the Second Republic of Ghana. So the constitution, of course, was finally drafted, and it was promulgated in 1969. And That is why, of course, the Constitution is named as the 1969 Constitution, because it was promulgated in 1969, and that ushered into office, the second, of course, republic. Now, this Constitution is quite different from the other constitutions that we have talked about, mainly because this Constitution provided for two, two offices in the executive. So we had the Prime Minister, and then we had also the presidency. Okay, so the Prime Minister was the head of government, of course, while the president, of course, was the for the head during for ceremonies and other things. And that is basically something about the 1969 Constitution of Ghana. Interestingly, let me also say that the Chief Justice who championed the draft of the Constitution became the first, of course, president of the Second Republic of Ghana, and he was in the name of Chief Justice Akufo-Addo. Okay, and then K.A. Buzia then became the Prime Minister because the Constitution provided for those two. Anyway, let's take a look at the features of this Constitution. Now, we will take a look at the first one, has to do with the executive. So the Constitution provided for the executive arm of government. Now, the 1969 Second Republican Constitution of Ghana established a parliamentary system of government with a bicephalous executive. Now, bicephalous executive meant that we are going to have two offices in the executive, unlike the other constitutions, the 1992 constitutions as we know today. There is a video on that. You can also check that if you want to establish a monocephalous executive, one person, and the person served as the head of government and also for president of the country. Okay, but this constitution gave two offices to the executive, so the Prime Minister, and then we also came to have, of course, the president. Okay, so the Constitution created the head of state as the president. So the head of state becomes the president, and the Prime Minister as the head of what? As the head of government or government business. And that is what for this Constitution did. Two executives. All right, good. Now, basically, of course, that is what this whole Constitution was about. Now, let's take a look at the status or the qualifications of a president. If you want to become a president, what do you have to have? I mean, the requirements are stated in the 1969 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So, one, a candidate for the president must be a Ghanaian by birth and must not in any way owe allegiance to any other country. You must be born in Ghana, and you must not have an allegiance to any other country, as in you shouldn't be a foreigner or have a citizenship with any other country. Now, the second one was that he must have attained the age of 40 and must be sufficiently educated to undertake and perform the functions of a president. Yes, age 40. 3. His tenure of office was 4 years, and he could hold office for 2 terms only. He took, of course, precedence over all other persons in Ghana. So 4 years is almost the same as the 1992 Constitution. 4. He must be qualified to be elected as a member of parliament. Good. Then the last one, he must be paid from the consolidated fund, and his pension and gratuity were to be free from taxes. So that is the qualifications of a president. Sometimes I ask myself this question: why is the president exempted from paying taxes? I mean, his gratuity, all his emoluments, everything is exempted from taxes. And I asked myself this question: why is it so? I mean, yes, we may call it as a privilege of being a president, but the president enjoys a whole lot of course, privileges, a lot of them. So why can't the president pay tax? Because you are serving as an example. And very often these politicians talking, especially the current government, talking about the fact that a lot of Ghanaians don't pay tax, and that is why we have to go to the IMF to borrow, we have to introduce the e-levy. But interestingly, the person lamenting this is not paying tax. That I find very, very ironical. I think that something must be done about it. It's the same thing, the 1992 Constitution, same thing. The president does not pay tax. That's quite, to me, disappointing. Now, let's take a look at another feature of the 1969 Republican Constitution of Ghana. For the Constitution also established a cabinet, and I think we have talked extensively about the role and functions of the cabinet, as well as even the executive on other constitutions, and that is why I decided to skip the role of the executive because it's almost the same. Now, the cabinet, the constitution provided for the establishment of a cabinet, and this cabinet consisted of not less than 8 ministers to be appointed by the president from the National Assembly. Okay, and the cabinet was charged with the responsibility to direct and control the day-to-day administration of the government, ministries, and as well as the departments. The cabinet was presided over by the president, so the deliberations of the cabinet was presided over by the president. And again, we've talked a lot extensively about the role of the cabinet, and so I think that I will not spend much time on the cabinet. The next feature of the 1969 Constitution also has to do with the legislature. All right. Now, the Constitution provided for the setting up of a unicameral legislature to be known as the National Assembly or Parliament, with membership of 104 elected by secret ballot based on universal suffrage. Now, the legislature was to be presided over by the Speaker, who was to be elected by the members of Parliament. All right. The Speaker may either come from the within or without Parliament, within or outside, of course, Parliament. Now, the members of Parliament were to be elected in single constituencies with a lifespan of 5 years. So you find that this provision in the 1969 Constitution is quite different from the 1992 Constitution. Here, the members who will be elected to represent the people in Parliament were to have 5 years, but now I think it's 4. All right, and of course, once again, we have done so many lessons on the functions of the legislature, so we will skip the legislature and move on to another important feature of the 1969 Constitution. Also had to do with the judiciary. Okay, so the Constitution again established the judicial arm of government and made it independent from the executive and the legislature organs of government. All right, the judiciary consisted of the superior courts and inferior courts. Now, the superior courts were made up of the Supreme Court, the Court of Appeal, as well as the High Court. The inferior courts were also the District Court, the Juvenile Court, and the tribunals. The Supreme Court was made the highest court and was to be headed by the Chief Justice appointed by the President. And very often I also have issues with this, because very often we say that the judiciary is independent, but the people who are working in the judiciary are appointed by the government. And so how independent do you think these judges are going to be? but of course that's what we have in our books. So of course, once again, the functions of the judiciary we have already talked extensively. I have talked about it extensively in my other video, so you can check that for yourself. So I think that we have been able to exhaust all our objectives for today. Thank you for your time. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and share our links to your friends who may be interested. Have a nice day, and thank you for your time.